Piling paper, got them talking nice to me. Down the bottle, it be going right through me. Brown baby down to take a flight to me. They think that I'm stunting, but it's slight to me. Piling paper, got them talking nice.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What is up, everyone? Happy Tuesday night. I'm Max Jimenez. Welcome to Club Collab, and I'm with my co-host, the one and only Ryan over Cash. What's up, Ryan?
What's cracking, Max?
Not much, bro.
How you feeling,
Tuesday,
brother?
Bro. I'm
Happy
good, bro.
Tuesday.
How are you, bro? How you doing?
Long
time
great,
no see.
man. I know, it's been a long time, man. We should get together sometime.
I know, brother. Awesome. Well, tonight, man, we have a great show for you guys, like always. Couple things before we bring on our special guest, Mr. Tony Mont, amazing human being, amazing business person overall. We've known Tony for a while now. I don't even remember which event we met. Do you remember what event was it?
Yeah, I know. We first met him actually at your old office. That's where we first
right.
met him.
Yeah, they came on the show on the Disruptors, and then we obviously met him in person again. Wholesaling live in person. But we've always stayed connected. I feel like it's been like 3 days. Like I mean, like 3-4 years already. Yeah. So really quick, some housekeeping stuff. Remember, this is a live show. Carlos, what's up, brother? How's it going? Ryan says let's go. Vicente, what's up, brother? Glad to have you on. Carlos says the goats. Yes, thank you, man. Appreciate it. Caesar's on here as well, too. What's up, Caesar? The Dispo Daddy. Yeah, we're gonna hear from him, and we're gonna ask him where he came up with that and who actually gave him that name, or if he gave it to himself. It's all good. But we're super excited. You know how we do the show here. We bring on the guests and we have them, talk about meat and potatoes. And but before we get started, Ryan, we have one announcement to make, is that you want to let the people know what's going on and what we're looking, the things that we're doing in our business and what we're looking for.
Yes, absolutely. Business is growing. We've added 2 people very, very recently. I think in the last 7 days, 2 people joined the team. High caliber people. Think really highly of these individuals, and just blessed to come across our path and reached out. In the process of bringing on more at this point too. We're always looking for good talent. If you're looking to advance your real estate career, please reach out. There's a link in my bio on my IG page. You can click on the link, apply directly, or you can DM me and just talk to me if you have any questions about that. Yes. Also, Max, you got your big thing going on too, from what you're building over there in the Discord.
Yes, the Discord community, the Closers Lab Discord community, it's growing. We had the first week of launch, we had over, we had close to 100 people join the community. I'm looking to push that thing. We're doing some great stuff over there, and man, it's amazing, right? Like, we could actually charge for that, how much stuff we're doing in there, but that's not what we created for, right? We're looking to give back, and like I said, it was really. Actually, it was an honor to actually have almost 100 people, join within the first, and it wasn't even a full week. I think we opened it up on a Wednesday of last week, and then by Sunday we had close to 100 people in there, and it's just growing every single day. So extremely excited. If you're not part of that, in the description of this video, the link for you to join that Discord community is there. We want to see you there. We want to help you. We're actively working deals with people in there. Where I went live, I think 2 days ago on there. We talked, a lot of different subjects, hiring, all that stuff. But I love to see every single one of you there. But I mean, that's it. Let's continue the show. And without further ado, let's bring on our good friend Tony Mont. Tony, what's happening?
What up? God, you guys look so professional with your nice cameras and your nice backgrounds. I'm like in my pajamas at my house over here. It's late.
It's all good, bro. It's late over there. Pajamas.
It's my bedtime.
Eating some quail eggs and all that good stuff.
Yeah, dude, eat my quail. It gave me a little bit of energy, but yeah, we'll see, man. I see Ryan's got his coffee maker behind him. Is that the one?
Yeah, that's the infamous Tony Mont coffee maker.
Yeah, man. He needed to have a real one, dude. He posted a video with a Keurig, and I was so embarrassed for him. I was like, what the hell's this guy doing? Sent him a real coffee maker. I'm glad you're using it.
Yeah,
you let me have it for real. You didn't hold back, so I appreciate the coffee though, man.
Absolutely.
We got a couple of good buddies on right now. We got Cash Money Mike's in the house. What's up, Cash Money Mike? We got Tony Garcia, Antonio, good friend of ours as well
Tony.
too. Robert's on here. What's up, Robert? Thank you for joining us. Tony Mont in the house. Let's go. So, Tony, obviously we know you, and we know what you do and who you are. But for somebody that's watching right now, we have a few people on, and people are going to start jumping in here later. But for those that are joining us right now, or maybe watching the replay, tell us a little bit about Tony Mont. Like, how did you get started in real estate? Where you from? Things whatever you want to share about yourself that somebody may not know. So that way people can get to know you, man.
Yeah, man, I'll give a quick relapse of my life real quick here. We got some time, right? How long is this show?
We can go as long as we want to, bro. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, so I grew up in Rockford, Illinois, kind of blue-collar town. I grew up with my now business partner, Eric Klein, which you guys know. We're all friends, right?
Yep.
Me and Eric grew up together, kind of rough, troubled youths, got into some trouble. Did a little bit of time in county jail, was facing some charges. And, me and Eric kind of went our separate ways at that time. He was troubled. I was troubled. And once I got out of jail, off of probation, all that, I packed up, moved out to San Diego, California. All I had ever done is, construction, manual labor. I was a welder, and then I was an electrician. Didn't know anything about sales, obviously nothing about real estate. Moved out to San Diego, and I was out there, and I could not get a job to save my life. I had just gotten off of 4 felony arrests, right? Wow. And one of them was a Class X felony. So I wasn't convicted of any felonies after my trial, but when any place runs a background check, they could still see what your arrest record was.
Right.
And I was fresh off all these arrests, so I was qualified for some jobs. This was in 2008. I was qualified for some jobs I was applying for, but I just couldn't get hired after my background check. So I literally was on Craigslist one day, and I replied to an ad. It was a guy. He's like, I'm starting a bicycle shop out here. I need somebody to come build beach cruisers on the beach for like $100 a day. And I was like, I could do that. $100 cash, get me fed. So I applied for this gig, man, and the guy hired me. I was the first one there. He's like, open interviews at 9:00. I was there at like 7:30 waiting for him. And ended up getting the job and worked for this guy for about a year. And then me and him opened another shop over by San Diego State that I was half owner in. And then I sold that shop to the restaurant next door. They were trying to expand. It was in a strip mall. And once all that happened, I had this chunk of change. My then business partner, Scott, had a chunk of change, and we flew to China, went to the Canton Fair, and we started importing our own bicycles. So this would have been like 2010. So here I find myself, I've been in California a year and a half, and now I'm like this business owner flying to China and importing bikes. Like, it happened really fast.
Oh man.
Yeah, and so we went to China. We started importing our own brand. We opened a warehouse. I was driving up and down the coast from San Francisco back down to San Diego. I was driving out to where you guys are at, out in Phoenix, and I was just selling bikes. I was wholesaling beach cruisers with our own brand. Did that for about a year, and then the original shop that Scott owned, he lost the lease on it, so we opened another shop together. A bigger shop in Pacific Beach, and we've had that now for 10 years, still going strong. We're actually in the middle of selling that business, but it's been an awesome run, very successful run. We've made millions of dollars selling beach cruisers, and the last 6 or 7 years, that shop's just been on autopilot, and I didn't really work a lot the last 5 years I was in San Diego. It was on autopilot. It was managed really well. I was making a ton of money, and I was kind of traveling and doing all these other things. But it got to the point where I was 37 at the time, and I was like, man, I have a lot more to give, and I'm still hungry, and I want to build something else. And in the meantime, Eric Klein was out in Florida building a business, that he eventually lost, and we were bouncing ideas off each other. And then he got a hold of a buddy that was doing wholesaling real estate.
Right.
And it just kind of mirrored his last his business that he had. He was getting people out of timeshares, but it was all, phone sale, over the phone sales, marketing, fulfillment, all that. So he got, he started getting leads and getting the pitch down, and he contacted me and he's like, hey man, we're going to start this business. Him and Shyla, his wife, are the business partner. Yep. And he's like, do you want in? And I was like, absolutely. And I literally just packed my stuff, moved to Raleigh where they wanted to move their family up here. And I have very little responsibilities. I've been single for a long time, no kids. So I was I can pack up and move again to have another swing at it. So got out to Raleigh, and I didn't know what I was going to do in the business. I don't think any of us really knew our roles, really. I mean, I think Eric was going to be in acquisitions. That's his forte. But I get out there, and it's just me and Eric in the office for maybe the first month, and I just listened to him pitch. It took me like 2 weeks to drive out to Raleigh from San Diego. I took my time. I saw some friends, and I was listening to, real estate disruptors. I was listening to Jerry Norton. I was listening to recordings that Eric was sending me. So I was just trying to wrap my head around it. Get out to Raleigh, and I sat next to Eric for 2 days in the office, listened to him pitch, tried to figure it out. And I was like, you know what? Day 3, I'm just going to hop on the phones and lock a deal up. And he's like, all right, cool. He's like, all right. He's like, just go in your office. He's like, I'm not even going to listen to you. Just pull up leads and pitch them. Here's the script. See what you can do. And that first day I got on the phones, I clicked on the first lead. I was on the phone for maybe 20 minutes, half hour, and I closed the deal. Nice. That's all I ever made. And I was just like, damn, this is easy, right? But,
super easy.
We were having somebody else dispo our deals at the time. And it was pretty apparent, Eric was going to handle acquisitions, and, I wanted, responsibility in this business. And I'm like, did I come out here and move all this way just to, do acquisitions as well? Or can I find a role that we need that I need to learn and implement so we can grow our business? And that became dispositions for me. And started, dispoing our deals. The first deal I ever dispoed was in Cincinnati. It was a $45,000 deal. Found that buyer off of a Facebook group. But, I kind of slowly started learning everybody's process and all these different ways to find cash buyers. And I just kind of implemented all those and came up with a really good system and started, dispoing our deals. And we just, hit the ground running. Within the first few months, we were doing over $100,000 a month. And, by like month 4 or 5, we were doing well over $300,000 a month in assignment fees. And, that comes from having an absolute monster on the phone, like Eric Klein, locking up deals for us. And then, when you're getting that kind of deal flow and that kind of pressure from somebody so high energy and level, and, it really put a lot of responsibility on me of like, I really got to get this process down on dispositions and figure out how to get rid of these deals. So it kind of happened fast, because of Eric and the way he was locking up deals.
Nice. That's a crazy, man. It's amazing to hear that, like all the, basically all the steps, right? Obviously, with you owning your own business, and then obviously, you and Eric have been friends, for a while, and then him moving out to Raleigh, which I heard is a place you love, but we won't talk about that right now. So then you guys get together and you hit your first deal, but you didn't know yet. That's amazing, because like that happens sometimes, but we know that obviously that's not the norm, right? You come in and close your first deal on your first call. And how much you make on that one, you said?
We made like $9,000 on that. We disposed it for
bro.
$9,000, yeah.
That's freaking amazing for the first day on the phones.
Yeah, dude. It was a Memphis, Tennessee lead, dude. And I clicked on the lead, and then I must have clicked another lead when I was talking to him. So when I was pitching this guy, I kept thinking his house was in Jacksonville. I kept telling him the house ain't in Jacksonville. So I had to like go look at the old lead and make sure who I was talking to, dude. It was a shit show. I wish we had that recording, dude. But
that would have been a good, because that could have been a good story, to put on IG and stuff.
It was just building rapport, dude. I mean, I didn't know what I was talking about when it came to real estate. But I just, it's funny because when we bring on acquisitions and they have a tough time with that part of the pitch of building rapport, it always blows my mind, because it's like when I'm on the phone and somebody gives me a little nugget to run with on building rapport, like to me, that's like such a gem. Because it's like when you get those sellers on the phone that are like so black and white, like I want an offer, this is the house, what's your offer? It's like those are the ones that you can't get any traction. Yeah. And it's like, man, when they're giving you something to run with and build rapport, to me, that's great. I mean, that's what I love doing.
Yeah, that's why it's important to have what I call the what is it called? The active listening skill, right? And instead of thinking of what you're going to say next, it's actually better to go into active listening to hear what they're giving you, so you can use that information, right? And then whether it's a question or you mirror or you rephrase, definitely a true statement right there. That's so powerful that you said that, because most people don't think about that. And that happens too on this position, right? Listening to what the buyers, what's going on, you can make adjustments, but definitely true. And we had Eric. He was the last show of 2022. We had him on here. Mm-hmm. And one thing I asked him is that because of everything that he's been through in his life and stuff. And I said, he's never been asked this before. I don't know if he told you about this, but I said, do you believe that because of your upbringing and made you to be resourceful, did that help you, in your sales career and where you're at now? And he he's like, dude, nobody's there. I've never thought about that.
Yeah, that's a great question, dude. Yeah.
Yeah. Because he's like, I think it has. He's like, and I could assume with everything that you've went through and the stuff, your business and all that, and you're a real resourceful person, and you put in a position and you understand conversations, you understand how to pivot and stuff. So amazing stuff, man. That's great to hear that. So that transition to Dispo, you just in your mind, you were like, I gotta help here, or how?
Yeah, like I definitely felt a responsibility. It's like Eric and Shiloh were business partners in their last business. They were super successful. They didn't have to call me and be like, "Hey, Tone, you want to jump into this business with us?"
Yep.
They did, and it put good pressure on me, right? Where I was like, where is my role going to be in this business? We were paying so much for another company to dispo our deals. We knew we had to cut that out. Yeah. And it was, Carlos Reyes was our first mentor we had in this business. And the first call we ever had with him, that was the first thing he said. He's like, you guys are out of your minds if you think you're going to grow your business without a disposition department. So I just took it, my responsibility is, well, let me just build a disposition department, So that's why I took it on. And I'm glad I did, because and Shiloh was the first one to say, I think Tony's going to be the best at Dispo because he's so good with building relationships. And if it's a long-term relationship with a buyer, she's like, I just think you'd be best at that. And it made perfect sense. And that's what I jumped into. And I'm really glad I did. It's been a great fit for me. I think I would have been really good in acquisitions. It's funny because people ask me that on Instagram all the time. Like, why don't you do acquisitions? You seem like you'd be good at it, because they see me on the phones. And it's when you have Eric Klein as a business partner doing acquisitions, it's like, I can definitely do Dispo for our company for sure.
No, for sure. It's a little different, but at the same time, because, it's not transaction. You're doing a transaction, but it's also the relationship long term, because those people are going to continue buying from you, right? Which makes a lot of sense. You had that experience, right, with your bicycle business, I think, where you're doing the B2B stuff. What was the first thing? I know right now where you're at, it's like, it's night and day from when you first started. But what was the first thing that you had to obviously implement? Was it people? Did you guys hire? Did you do systems? What was the thing for somebody that's listening that is JVing with someone and maybe has some acquisitions and now they need to build that department out? what was like the first thing that you started to look into to change and implement?
Yeah, man, the first thing somebody told me, like when I first started asking questions about dispositions with people I knew, the first thing somebody told me that I asked was, your comps are your buyers. And that just stuck with me. It's something I still have written on my wall today. And it's like, if your cash comps you're running are your buyers, then how do we get a hold of those people? And there's a ton of ways to get a hold of them. And it's, prop stream, looking up cash buyer data. We would, in the beginning anyway, we would mass text a ton of cash buyer data and those zip codes. I would cold call all the buyers, within a mile of that property that have bought in the last year. We would put, our listings, our properties on Facebook groups. We would, and then I met Robert Wensley, and then we got on Investor Lift, and that's a whole nother marketing tool, right? So,
hey Tony, real quick, was that pretty fast into your career? Because I know you guys, you have the short window of like how fast you guys scaled. Meeting Robert Wensley and getting Investor Lift, was that pretty fast into your guys' business?
I want to say we started in May of 2021. By June, July, we were doing like a close to $100,000 a month, if not $100,000 a month. And then we got Investor Lift, I believe, in like August or September of that year. I think it was September. So we were already hitting like a 6-figure month. But I got the pro level of Investor Lift. We were using God mode to skip and send out mass text messages and cold call. So I just had the basic level of it. But within a couple months, we had gone from like $100,000 to $125,000 to like $170,000. And that's actually when Robert called me on my cell phone one day, and he's like, Tony, this is Robert Wensley. I'm like, hey, what's up? He's like, I see what you guys are doing. He's like, where did you guys come from? Like, I heard you guys have just been doing this for a few months. He's like, where did you guys come? He was just curious of like where He's like, people don't usually hit $100,000 months, 2-3 months into the business.
Yeah, no, it doesn't happen. I told Eric that, like, it's amazing to see that. So
so Robert was gracious enough, he believed in me, and I was actually visiting my brother at the time in Chicago, I think, and Robert's like, let's jump on a Zoom call. I want to show you the power of Investor Lift. So he jumped on a Zoom with me like on a weekend, and he showed me cartel level and all of the things to do with Investor Lift. And he's like, if I give you cartel level for 30 days, he's like, do you think it would change your business? And back then it was like 2 million buyers on there, or a little over 1 million or something. Now it's over 4 million.
Right. Yep.
So he gave it to me for 30 days, and like within those 30 days, we jumped up to like 250,000 in assignment fees, and then the month after that it was 300,000, and then we ended up closing over 500,000 by December, our first year in business. We had only been in business since May. Right. And by December, we closed like $506,000 in assignment fees, closed and funded. Right. But so Robert had given us cartel level, which really helped because, when we first started wholesaling, we were virtual right away. I mean, we went everywhere. We were in Ohio and in Florida and North Carolina and Tennessee and Georgia, and we were getting PPC leads like out in Washington and all these places. So, and all these deals were coming in so fast from all these different markets that I didn't have buyers in. So having Investor Lift was super crucial to grab those buyers. It would cut a ton of time out of, you can still find those buyers. It's just going to take you a lot longer than it does when you're at cartel level on Investor Lift.
No, that's 100%. That's so true. And then, so was it, even though was it just you for a little while, or using selling everything through cartel?
Yeah, it was probably just me until, I'm trying to think now. It was me till probably that September or so is when I hired my first Dispo person. Yeah. Okay. So, we were doing, I was doing like 250 to 300 grand by myself, and then once we hired a couple more acquisitions, we then hired another our first dispo person, and then we were doing well over 300, 400, 500 grand when we had the deal flow.
Damn. Yeah. Okay, that's pretty good, bro. That's actually great. I was gonna ask you, what did that process look like for you when it was just you? I mean, Eric locked the deals up. They came to you because, man, I could tell you right now. I mean, we have Ryan's involved in Dispo. We have Mattel.
You did the listing too, like the pretty listing. You did that,
and we have Meg, who's our virtual team member, and she does all the mundane stuff, the admin stuff. I want to know. Because not everybody's in that position. Obviously, you're now in a different position. But at that moment, what did that process look like for you?
Yeah, everything's soup to nuts, dude. I would, back, before InvestorLift, we just had MailChimp. So I would just put a mass email together with a real nice, pretty email. And I would send that out. You can make a link for it too. So I would put that on Facebook groups. And then I was just digging into cash buyer data on PropStream, man. And I was just calling cash buyer data all day long, mass texting. I would text, 500 to 700 cash buyers in that zip code. And then if, 20, 30 of them texted me back, I would get them on the phone, vet them, put them in our buyers list. And I was just keeping everything in that MailChimp program where, you could tag buyers by state and stuff in there. So that's how I started. We got a lot of buyers off of Facebook groups and cold calling. PropStream was the first things I was doing before we got InvestorLift. Now it's like we have the InvestorLift cartel level buyers list. So we have 4 million buyers in there. We have 20,000 buyers in our internal buyers list now. We still call PropStream, and we still, send everything out on InvestorLift, and we utilize the MLS now too. So we cast a really wide net when we send these deals out. We mass text the deal, we mass email the deal, send it out on InvestorLift, cold call, and we also will list it on the MLS if we don't get action on the first 48 hours.
Yeah, that's those are really good steps. So, and obviously, it was funny. I think you and I were on a Zoom a while back, and we made the joke like, "Hey, nobody's hitting the buy now button, bro." Yeah. So I want to get a little bit into that because there was a prosperity window where it was like everybody's hitting that buy now button, and then things change. But you guys were doing the work anyways before that, right? Before you had InvestorLift, you guys did the real work, which is pick up the phone, do your what I called what is it called, cross prospecting. I can't remember what there was, an agent term, cross prospecting, and we still do that now. So we have a certain property, and we'll look in that zip code and see who are the LLCs. Maybe there's some flips going on there. But that's putting in the work right there. There's no easy way to.
It is, dude, and that's what it's going to take right now in dispositions. It's like people ask for KPIs and stuff. It's like, I was telling you guys before we went live, like I was out in California over New Year's, and 2 of my dispo guys that had been working for me both quit while I was gone. So I got back, and I was the only person in dispo the first 2 weeks of this year, dude. And, and we had 22 deals in our dispo bucket that needed to get sold. And I just went back to the basics, and I, sent everything out on InvestorLift. We sold a few deals that way, but most of the deals were being sold by cold calling. And if you looked at my personal numbers, my KPIs for the first 2 weeks of this year, I was making, close to 50 dials a day with 2.5 hours of talk time. Like that was my average for 2 weeks. Plus I was getting at least, I think the average was like 40 inbound calls too.
Oh yeah. Right. Damn.
So like and I sold, I think 11 or 12 deals in 2 weeks. Yeah. There was a day I sold 3 deals in one day. But, it took that work to get those deals moving. And right when those 2 guys quit on the team, like I had contacted the acquisitions, our acquisition managers that we have in our office, because I just wanted to reassure them. I'm like, hey, when I get back, Like, I don't care if I have to work 24 hours a day. I will make sure your deals get sold,
Yep.
you know, because I didn't want them to worry. And
Yeah. Right.
they were like, we know you got it. Don't worry. You know, we're not worried about that. So when I got back, man, that's what I did. So it still takes a ton of dials and a ton of talk time to get rid of these deals, because not only are you contacting and cold calling buyers and people on your buyers list, you know, we list a lot of stuff on the flat fee MLS. So a lot of agents are calling in. You're vetting them. You're telling them your process. You're building rapport with your big buyers. You know, you're importing buyers into your buyers list. So it's a lot on the phones. It's a grind, just like acquisitions. But if you want to, you know, do, you know, 250, 300 grand a month in assignment fees, you got to be on the phone all day. That's all there is to it. The days of sending a deal out on investor lift and it going for over asking for 5 buyers, those days unfortunately are over right now. They'll be back, but you know, a lot of the big buyers have paused. And to be honest, most of my deals are going to new investors right now. 8 out of 10 of my deals are going to new buyers that I'm just now getting a hold of.
Wow, interesting.
I wanted to ask you, just because we use Investor Lift, and for me, it's like it's a wave, you know, like where we hit use it a lot versus don't. So when you're saying you're skip tracing and cold calling yourself, are you pulling these from Investor Lift, or is this from PropStream or a different source? What are you using as a skip trace? Or sorry, what are you skip tracing?
Yeah, so we don't even use any skip tracing software. Like, we just do we call it a sniper attack off of PropStream. So when we get a deal, we look on PropStream. So the first part of our process is we immediately will send it out to our VIPs. So we're gonna text it and we're gonna email it to our VIPs. We're gonna call through that list to make sure they saw the deal, get a little feedback from it, but we want them to feel like our VIPs. Those are people that have, you know, either put multiple offers in on properties or, you know, have bought a property from us. So we want to reward that buyer, right? So we're going to send it out to them. If nobody bites on it, we send it out to the rest of our buyers list. We send it out on Investor Lift, and then we start diving in that sniper attack on PropStream, and we're going to look in that neighborhood, in that area, you know, within a half mile or a mile. We'll go 2 years back and we'll see everybody that bought cash. And
oh wow,
you know, we want to at least talk to 25 buyers in that area that have bought cash, because like, if you do that, you're going to get so many good buyers in your buyers list. Because who's the best buyer for a property in this neighborhood? It's somebody who's already flipped a property there.
Yep.
When you're running your comps and you see a flipped comp, you know, something that just got flipped and sold to an end buyer, go back, look and see who bought that one cash, who was the flipper on that one. You know, you want to call those guys that are flipping. They're going to be the best bet. And they just sold a property. They probably got some cash they need to reinvest. But that's all we're doing. We're manually skipping those 25 people off of PropStream. I'll grab their name, their LLC. I'll find who owns it on Open Corporates. I'll go to Fast People Search and find their phone number and cold call them.
I love that. I just remember the name, the Circle Prospecting, which is, because you're right. Like, we don't go that far back, which is really a good idea.
Yeah,
24 months is actually really good, because you're trying to extract as many as buyers possible. The one thing is, you know, the reason why we looked at it is, like, if somebody just bought in the last 90 days, you know, they're still doing that flip. So who else more is going to want another project right next to their current project? But I didn't think about past tense. Somebody already bought, flipped, made money, possibly, right? They might want another project in that neighborhood.
Absolutely. Or they bought it cash and held on to it as a rent. You know, maybe they're a landlord. You know, that's another thing. When when we're putting our listing together on Investor Lift, like, there's a reason we run ARV comps, for sale comps, and rental comps. Like, we put all those comps in the listing. So when you're running your for sale comps, if those properties look like a flip, you know, you can see the history on Zillow. Was it bought for $100 grand 6 months ago and now it's being sold for $200 grand and it looks nice? Somebody's flipping that property. So we're running our own comps and dispositions. So as we're running our comps and putting our listing together, it's like we're taking note of like, hey, we need to call this person from this comp. You know, this one just sold. It was a flip. We got to call this guy that flipped that one. And then we're looking at rentals in the area, because then you can see all the landlords there, right? Like what's for rent in that neighborhood. And then you're pulling that up, and you can call the property manager and be like, hey, whoever owns this, you know, do they want another one? Or you find out who bought it off of PropStream and call that buyer direct. But there's all those different ways of running comps. Like I said, your comps are your buyers. So the sold properties, the for sale properties, and the rentals, like you're going to find cash buyers in all those comps. So that's why we run all that. We put all those comps in, you know, in our listing, so people know if they flip it, this is what it could, you know, this is what it could sell for. If they buy and hold it, this is what it could rent for. So
I like that.
You want the listing to be really attractive to these. Like, why are you sending this deal out? Why would this buyer want to buy this deal?
Right.
You know, is there money in it as a flip? Is there money? Is it going to cash flow, buy and hold? Like that, you got to be thinking how the buyer thinks when you're sending these deals out. And people always, I get a lot of people that ask me about Investor Lift, and they're like, yeah, do you think it's worth it? I don't know. People aren't really looking at my deals. I'm not selling anything on there. It's like, I'm selling deals on there. You know, I'm not special. It's like, Does my listing look better? Do my deals make sense? You know, if a deal comes through acquisitions and I see the numbers don't make sense, now we got the photos back, it's in way worse shape, or the comps they ran acquisitions was like, I'm not going to send that deal out if it doesn't make sense. Like I'll either, you know, rerun the numbers, send it out lower than they thought, or get a reduction from the seller before I send it out. But you want to make sure you're sending out good deals.
Yeah, that makes sense. Or get burnt.
Yeah, I like that, Tony, because that's another struggle every once in a while. Go through, like, do we just send this out and see if somebody wants it, or like, is it worth going after? And you know, I definitely have that struggle.
Well, think about it, Ryan. Do you ever sell those deals that you doubt? No.
No.
Yeah, and then, you know, the buyers are going to, you know, they're either going to unsubscribe from your email, or, you know, they're just going to be like, oh, you know, Tony's sending me another deal that doesn't make sense. You know, he's just going to reduce it in a week. I'll wait till then. You know, it's too high. So, yeah, you want you want to run your comps really well and make sure the deal makes sense for somebody, you know, so you're actually getting action on it. You will get action on Investor Lift, cold calling on Facebook groups if the deal makes sense. They don't sell themselves necessarily, but you're going to get a way better shot.
Yeah, that's a good point. And for those of you guys that are watching, something that Tony said, if you just tuned in right now, he was using MailChimp. I can tell you, I use MailChimp right now for other stuff, and it's freaking great. I mean, MailChimp works for many, many things. And if you're not in a position to get Investor Lift or all these fancy other fancy tools, PropStream, and between PropStream and MailChimp, you can do some damage, right? But it's up to you to do the work, right? Those tools are there. You can pay, and you don't have to start big. I think it's like you can pay like $15, you get 5,000 contacts or something on MailChimp, right? To email, create listings, the campaigns. It's a really good program. Am I not right on that, Tony?
It's great, man. Like we did over $100,000 a month using MailChimp, PropStream, and Facebook groups. Like grassroots, like you can move deals that way 100%. You know, Investor Lift is worth it. Like, and I have people, you know, we have promo codes for Investor Lift and stuff, and I'll post it once a month or something for people to sign up. But, you know, when I do post those stories on Instagram, people ask me all the time, like, you think I should sign up for Investor Lift? And I'm like, well, my first question is, how many deals you do in a month? How many deals you do in a month, and in how many markets? And, you know, half the people are like, I'm doing 2 deals a month and one in my backyard. It's like, you don't need it. You got plenty of other things to do besides Investor Lift right now. Like, and Robert will tell you that too. He's like, until you're doing over 5 deals a month, you know, 5, 6, 7 deals a month in multiple markets, you know, your money would be spent better going back into marketing, right? For acquisitions.
100%. We got a couple of questions, Tony, I want to get to. We'll start with Carlos's question. I know you touched a little bit on the process here, but he says, can you walk us through each step you take when dispositioning a deal? Like the moment you get it, what do you do with it?
Yeah.
Open your playbook, Tony.
The whole thing. No.
Yeah. Well,
Step by step.
I'm doing a free Zoom on
There
Thursday.
you go.
So yeah, follow
There you
me, the Tony Mont on Instagram, and click on the link for my free Zoom Thursday. I will go over our whole disposition process on that Zoom. It's going to take an hour to go over it at least.
Boom.
But I'll give you the kind of quick version of it. There's, like I said before, like a deal comes over from acquisitions. Our transaction department will get photos of the property. So we either ask the seller to take photos, or we'll send a professional photographer out there. We get the photos in, we make the listing, we send it to our VIPs. If they don't bite on it the first 24 hours, then we're going to send it out to the massive buyers list we have internally and on Investor Lift. If it doesn't move in another 24 hours, as we're cold calling off a prop stream too, then we'll most of the time we'll flat fee list it on the MLS. Most of the time, sometimes we don't if it's still a hot deal, but especially if it's rural or something like that, we like to flat fee them, especially if it's a mobile home or a lower purchase price, we'll flat fee them. So that's kind of our process in a nutshell. If it doesn't move in the first week, we'll reduce it. Second week, we reduce it. By the third week, our inspection period's about up. We'll do a Hail Mary reduction if it hasn't been sold, get as many offers in as we can. Our KPI, you got to have 5 offers on every deal before it either gets sold or canceled, basically, unless you have an asking or above offer. So we want to get multiple offers on the property, even if they're low. And then me or Eric will make a reduction call with the seller to make the deal work. And don't sleep on reductions. Like we had a deal in North Carolina last week, and we had locked this deal up for 150 grand. We were marketing it at 170, but after 4 walkthroughs, everybody was super low on it because the house was in way worse shape than the seller told us and the pictures showed. Right. And I didn't personally walk it. It was 3 hours from here. Yep. But I did have enough walkthroughs where I was like, all right, these people aren't BSing me. Like, it is in worse shape, right? So now I have the data in there, and I'm like, we've had 4 walkthroughs. Now everybody's in the low 100s. We need a huge reduction on this thing. We have it locked up for 150. Eric got a $40,000 reduction on that lady, and we obviously locked it up too high to begin with. But we got a $40,000 reduction on it. And I found a new buyer at a new price, and we dispoed it, and we made 20 grand on it. Nice. So, a lot of people would give up on a deal like that. Like, 150, our best offers are in. And the best offer I had when I sent it out at 170 were in like low 100s. We got a reduction and ended up selling it for 130. And I had no offers near that 130. But once I sent it out at 130, then I got those buyers that could actually buy it at 130, because when it was sent out at 170,
they couldn't buy it.
Even looking at it, they were like, "This is way too high." So
that makes sense. Don't
sleep on reductions. Like you got to get good at the reduction calls. Like me and Eric probably split them 50-50, but don't sleep on reductions if you need them.
Let me ask you this: when you when you send out the listing again, and you're going to reduce the price, are you sending it out as a new listing, or you're just doing the price reduction?
Always new.
Got it.
Always new. Yeah, I don't want anybody knowing I'm reducing anything. I always price my deals right. So I'll switch up the title, I'll switch up the photo, I'll switch up.
I knew Ryan had to get it from somewhere. So.
Yeah, I learned everything. This guy, he knows. Everything I do, I copy from Tony.
That's good. Flattered, but yeah, you got to send them out as a new deal. You don't want to, because if somebody gets a reduced deal, they're going to think it's a messed up deal to begin with. It's a mindset thing.
100%.
And you're going to be training your buyers that you're the one that sends out reduced deals all the time. So
yeah, for
set
sure.
it up.
All right, we got Vicente. He's got a question here, a little more mindset stuff, it looks like. Could you guys talk a little bit about the importance of relationships in this business, from real good friendships to just transactional relationships?
Yeah, I mean, like I always tell everybody this, like, I mean, I moved across the country, right? Like all my friends out in San Diego and Arizona, like all my buddies I go off-roading with, it's like I don't see those guys as much anymore. And it seems like, all my really good friends I have right now are guys like, everybody I've met at masterminds and events and everybody in the wholesaling space. It's like I have this whole other life that I created in the last, 2 years out here with this big group of friends. And, I'll just speak on the friends part of it, where it's so nice, like, jumping on Zooms with you guys and seeing you so much, and then seeing you at events and all that. Like, and, Ryan, calls me whenever he needs something, and he always thinks like, oh, I can tell he's like, oh, I don't mean to bug you. It's like, dude, I love talking to you. Like, it's all good. Like, that's what we're friends for. Like, yeah, I love it. And I do that to, like David Olds, I'll call him. Like, most of the stuff I learned was from David. So, and, I always say that to him. I'm like, hey man, I hate to bug you. He's like, who are you bugging? All good. So, we all do it. And it's great. I think it's a great community. I love hanging out with all these guys, and love going to events, love, the Zooms, the podcasts. I mean, I love all of it. It's great.
Yeah. I was going to say, to add one more point to that is that, look what we're doing right now, right? This is relationships. I mean, we friendships now, right? It's not even business, like, and that's the thing is you got to be genuine and intentional too, right? Like, you can't be wishy-washy and, all this stuff. Like, even though it seems like this community is big and the space is huge, but it's not. It's small. You've seen this now, right, Tony?
Yep.
In the past year, it's a very small world. Everybody knows everybody for the most part.
Yeah.
Vicente has a follow-up question for you, Tony, on the personal level. Is what would you tell your 21? What would be the one thing you would tell your 21-year-old self?
Man, stay out of the bars, because that's what I got to do. When I was 21, I was at the height of my partying. I had been doing cocaine for about 2 years straight. I was on a reckless path, dude, and it ended with me in jail at 22 years old. So yeah, dude, I had to, if I could go back to tell, and that's me personally. I mean, it has nothing to do with business or anything. If I could go back to my 21-year-old self, I'd be like, dude, pump the brakes. You're not Superman. There are consequences to your actions, even though you seem like there isn't right now. There's gonna be. So get your head screwed on straight. It took me facing life in prison to change my life around, and I wish it didn't get to that point. Unfortunately it did, but I would have changed my trajectory a year earlier if I could go back.
Robert said, save your liver for later. He said that's what you should tell.
Absolutely.
I love your story, Tony.
Oh, look at, we got Mama Overcash on the house right now. Checking out Ryan.
That's great.
Go ahead, Ryan.
No, I was gonna say, like, even at the beginning, right when you started, I forgot. I couldn't believe I didn't tell my brother. My brother builds bikes and been through some stuff recently, and I thought about you and your story, and I couldn't wait to tell him your story. He's coming up here this week and stuff. We're gonna hang out.
You should connect them, bro. Tony would love to talk to him,
bro. I know. I absolutely would. Like, it hit me in the beginning.
Hey, you're not bothering him, bro. He's a friend.
I actually texted my brother right in the beginning of the show. I sent him a link, and I'm like, dude, I forgot to tell you. You need to watch this. So anyways, Tony, I do want to connect my brother with you, bro, because there's a lot of similarities and things that just that he could really learn from. And so anyways, I appreciate your story. A lot of people will benefit from it.
The first time I ever told it was on Real Estate Disruptors, and it's funny because I told Steve, like, he was like, "Is there anything off limits?" And I'm like, "Well," I was like, I have a pretty wild past, and it's kind of shocking to most people, so I don't really want to get into the nuts and bolts of it." And then we got out there, and I started talking to him before the show, and he was like, "You don't want to talk about this?" I was like, fuck, let's just talk about it. It's just the biggest podcast. Let's just talk about it. And then I did, and I'm so glad I did, because so many people reached out. Dude, to this day, people hit me up, and they're like, "Dude, I saw you on Real Estate Disruptors, and you told your story, and my brother this, or I went through that, or my dad that. People have come up to me bawling and given me a hug at events, because of my story. So I'm so glad I got over that and started talking about it openly. Because it does help people, and in the beginning, I didn't think that way. I was just like, people are going to think, something different of me. But then when you look at it through other people's eyes, you're like, it can help other people.
One thing that I learned a long time ago is, because we all grew up with all kinds of stuff, right? And like me, obviously didn't grow up with money or anything like that. Rough growing up, got into drugs really young too as well. And something I learned was that your test is not for you; it's for your testimony for someone else, right? And so, like, even if it's only for one person, and that's really the way you got to look at it, and what you're doing now, right? And you see that you share the story, but it impacts other people, so it's crazy.
It is, it is. Didn't know I would have that reach, but glad I do.
Yeah. All right. Robbie has a question. He says, "Hey Tony, when you have to do a price reduction call with the seller, how do you present that to the seller? An example, by any chance, if you can?"
Yeah, so you definitely want to have your ducks in a row when you make that reduction call. You can't just call and be like, we need this at 50 grand less because I'm trying to make money on it. You really got to dig in, get feedback from your buyers and take note of it. What is wrong with the property that they didn't disclose? That's going to be the biggest thing. Or has that seller even been in the property for the last, year, 2 years, 5 years,
Yep.
Maybe it's a rental they've just had forever. They don't even live in the area. So you definitely want a lot of good feedback about the condition of the property, really detailed feedback. So what I do is I'll collect all that feedback. I'll even get, inspection reports from hedge funds and stuff and read off of that. And then I'm just breaking down the numbers with the seller. And I'm saying, hey, we thought it was a $20,000 rehab. It's actually a $50,000 rehab. And these are the reasons why, because a new roof costs this, the crack in the foundation costs that. And, we buy all these houses cash, but we're going to end up having to refi it later. And now the interest rates are 6.9%. So now if I'm going to refi this property with all this money into it, my payments are going to be $1,600. These things only rent for $1,700. I need to cash flow at least $300. So I need it at this price. So I'll really get granular with the numbers with them and just pitch it that way. You really got look at it as you're educating the seller as to why you need a reduction. You got to sound like you know what you're talking about, which it helps to get that feedback from the buyers too, when they walk it.
No, 100%. I mean, Ryan does them. I've done them plenty of times. And at the same time, it's got to come out genuine, right? You can't. It's not one of those things where it's like, 2 days before closing, let me call and get a price drop. That's trash, right? You generally. Yeah, you generally, you gotta, like you said, you gotta, present it in a way where you're educating them, and one of the things too that's helped quite a bit, Tony, and you probably can relate to this, being that you're good relationships, is do it as a team. Hey, how can we work together to get this done? Here's the feedback that I've been getting. Two of my guys that went out there to give me bids, this is what they told me. And, I want to get this done for you. So how can we work to get this together, right? You bring them in as a team so they felt part of it. And it's not just you hey, I need a price reduction or else I'm not going to make my assignment fee.
Yeah, it's funny you say that as a team, dude. When we were on that Zoom with Mr. Cash Money Mike, our buddy, and you were on those calls, man, that's the one thing I took away from it that you do well. It was, dude, it was great watching you on the phones, dude. It was awesome, man. Awesome. Just another perspective, dude. It was really good.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate that. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Do we have any questions? Not so far. I know, obviously, you guys, obviously you guys have done the whole tour, Disruptors podcast, all that. So right now, what's the goals for 2023? I know you were talking a little bit off backstage before we jumped on about, trying to grow the Dispo side, and what are some goals for you what is a goal for you personally, and then what's some goals for the Dispo side of the business right now?
Yeah, so we want to hit $4 million in assignment fees this year is our goal. I think it's very doable. The first 12 months I was in business, we did 2.6 million in assignment fees. So, I think 4 million in a calendar year is very doable. I think hedge funds are going to start buying again this year. I think the faucets are going to turn back on whenever we settle in this market, and it's the new normal. So I'm not worried about that at all. I'm rebuilding a Dispo department. I have a really good Dispo agent we hired. She's been working for 2 weeks. She reads the script verbatim. She's trying to hit her KPIs as best as she can. She does exactly what I tell her. And, in less than 2 weeks, she dispoed her first deal for 41 grand. So I know what I'm talking about, and it's like, just stick to this process. It's proven.
Yep.
And she's doing that, and she's already seeing the results a couple weeks in. Yeah. So that's been really rewarding. So definitely want to onboard another Dispo agent. We want to, build out a JV department for everybody that reaches out needing help with their deals. And then personally, I'm going to start doing these free Zooms every month and teaching kind of the basics of dispositions. I'm trying to help as many people as possible. And, I think the free Zooms are where it's at. So I'm focused on that. Doing shows and podcasts and stuff like this, man. I love doing it.
I love it. One thing that you said that stood out to me right now was the process, right? Like, because one thing that, when I met David Olds, right? When I met him about, it was in the All In Freedom event. I think it was last year. I think it was. Yeah, All In Freedom. You guys were there, I think, believe me. And I met him there. And so I started talking to him, and he got my mind working because he started talking about all these processes for disposition. I'm like, bro, I've always been so laser focused, acquisitions, the sales process, the sales system, and I've never heard anybody talk about the process like this, like you have for Dispo. And not a lot of people do, right? I mean, I don't. Eric doesn't. I mean, we're always like acquisition. But how important is that, right? To have that process, just like, especially right now, right? How it's turned into like guerrilla warfare. And you just said it right now. You have a really good process where you just put someone in there, and if they follow that process, she's already got the first deal, a signed deal, right? First is, how important is that, and should everybody build their process, even on the Dispo side?
Yeah, I mean, it would be complete chaos in our Dispo department if there was no process. Like, you definitely need that for onboarding and scaling and everything. And, another, and this is kind of, something I think about too, because as we know in wholesaling, there's going to be cancellations, right? And it's just a part of the business, but we want to keep those cancellations down.
Yeah.
And, for me, like, I take it really personal when a deal gets canceled. Like, it keeps me up at night, right? And to kind of, curve that feeling, it's like, have we really gone through our entire process on this deal? Did we really give it our all? Did we give this deal its best chance to get sold? Mm-hmm. And if we did, and we do have our 5 offers in there, even if they didn't work, like, we know there was something else wrong. The house was in worse condition than they told us. Maybe the comp was off. We locked it up too high. The seller was being an asshole. I mean, you just didn't find the right buyer for it, but you tried your best, right?
Control the controllables.
Yeah. So it's like, with the process, for me, it eases my mind that these deals are getting the attention they need, and we're assigning a ton of them. And the ones that do fall off, it's like, I'm confident we gave it our all on that deal. And you can only do that with a process. You never want to have to cancel. That's a lot of money. There's you look back at your cancellations in your CRM, dude, you could buy an island. So it's like, it's a lot of money, and I take it serious. I think we get a little jaded on the numbers sometimes. We see, this is a $40,000 deal, $60,000. There's all these numbers rolling around. It's like, well, this one got canceled. It was all, that one only 15, 20 grand. It's like, no, that's a lot of money, dude. There was
do that times 10.
Yeah, this times I had negative in my checking account. Like, It's yeah, so it's important to have a process. I mean, you have to have a process if you want to scale, if you want to sell more deals, if you want to lock up more deals. I mean, a process is absolutely needed in any business, you know, and you just got to get a good one down and stick to it on every single deal. And when you onboard people, you know, Jessica's been with us for 2 weeks. Yeah. And she's if she didn't have a process, she would have no idea how to dispo a deal. And within 2 weeks, she has the scripts in front of her for every situation. She reads verbatim. She sends the deals out. She does everything she has to. And you know, she sold a deal and we're making 41 grand on it. So
that's awesome, man. Thank you for sharing that. Caesar has a question. He says, Tony, if you have a buyer really interested in a property and you know you can have a reduction price, and you know you need to have a reduction on the price on the property, do you let the buyers know that you will try to get it a reduction so they can buy it, or do you do it? I guess he's asking, do you let them know that you're going to go for that?
Yeah, I'll if it's a buyer I'm confident that is vetted and they're a real buyer and they're not going to try and steal a deal from me, I'll disclose that I need a reduction to make a deal work, you know? Right. So if I send a deal out at 200 grand and my best offer is at 150 and we have it locked up for 160, yeah, I mean, I'm doing my follow-up calls with all these offers through the whole process to make sure they're still good. So if I do get a reduction, I know I have a buyer for it. That's another thing we didn't talk about, Max, was when you get a reduction, you better have a buyer that's going to buy that property. So keeping 100%. Your offers in your CRM and following up with all your backup offers, even if they're low, like that's super important. You want to make sure these buyers are ready to roll if you can get a reduction. And that's why I'm honest with them about it. I'll say, hey man, I'm gonna have to get a reduction to make this work. Like, are you good to go? Because if you are, I'll make the reduction call and get it done. And we'll assign this thing today if you're ready to roll.
Yeah, good point on that, man. And I think the reductions should be done for buyers that have walked the property, right? Yes. That have given you that genuine feedback, that have already put, feet on the ground and touched it and smelled it and all that good stuff.
It's got to be a solid offer for me to call for. I will not call for a reduction if I don't have solid offers. I just won't. It's a one-time thing, and you're not going to get 2 reductions. You're going to get 1 reduction. So here's a little tip. I'll leave this gem out there for everybody watching too.
Oh, listen up, y'all.
So like if you have a property and you send it out and you're getting low offers on it, say like use the scenario, you locked it up for 150, you sent it out at 170, right? Like if you're getting offers of 140, 130 on this property, like why not send this deal out for what you locked it up for? Like, and just get as many offers as you possibly can on it and get solid offers. So when you do have to get a reduction, you got a solid offer on it. Say you send it out at 150 and you get an offer at 150, solid, they walked it. Now you know a number you have to hit. You have a locked up for 150. Shit, you could try for 20 grand. They only give you a $5,000 reduction. That's a $5,000 deal. But like, it's okay to send your deals out for what you locked them up for to try and get some offers in there, even if they're low offers. One thing that we could do, and we've done this, is, say a deal does come through in dispositions, and I'm looking at the photos and the condition and the notes, and I'm like, they didn't disclose all this information, and the pictures make this property way worse. Yeah. Like I'll send that deal out at what we locked it up for, but I'll call the seller and say, hey, I'll do like a pre-reduction call, right? Because we don't have any offers yet because we haven't sent it out. But I know I can only send it out at what we locked it up for because that's the only number that makes sense. So I'll call the seller and say, hey, we got the photos back. We looked at the property again. This is in way worse shape than we originally thought. I'm still going to try and make the numbers work, but if they don't, after I get a couple quotes on the work, can I come back to you and renegotiate? If the numbers don't work, I'm going to try and make them work best I can. But say I get all my numbers back and we need to renegotiate. Is that a possibility? Like, just leave it in their ear that might be a conversation later, right?
Yeah, you're warming them up for that.
You're warming them up, and you're getting a feel for how they're going to react to it too. Like show them the photos. Be like, hey, you didn't tell us that there was a hole in this wall or the roof was leaking. Like, you can see what I see, right, Mr. Seller? Yeah, you can. Well, this adds a lot of extra cost onto this property. Like, I'm going to try and make the numbers work. We're going to work together. I'm going to do whatever I can. You win some, you lose some. Maybe we break even on it. But, if we have to, renegotiate, is that something you're open to? So just leave it in their ear like that. So now you can send it out at what you locked it up for, get some offers in, and then get that reduction call.
Boom. I love that. That was a nugget right there, bro.
Yeah.
That was a big nugget. Yeah.
Hey,
So
you get enough of these deals, you get nuggets, man.
that's the only way you get nuggets.
It's the only way. Experience. Yeah, you got to try everything.
Yeah, I was in LA on Saturday, and they invited me to go speak. A good friend, Alex Camacho, and Will Wall, and that's what I said. I spoke about a couple reasons why people, 3 reasons why salespeople struggle, and one of those is they don't take enough action, right? Which is the very obvious one, because and what happens is that people are out there trying to correct things that they're not even taking actions on.
Happens all the time, dude. All the time.
How do I do this? How do I do that? Like, okay, well, did you go try that first before you
Yeah.
come back and say that worked or not?
Go do it. Yeah. What if this happens? It's like, what if it happens? Just you gotta go do it. Yeah, you'll figure it out. Don't be scared.
Yeah, exactly. What up, fellas? Appreciate this collab. David, what's going on, brother? Good to have
Heck
you.
yeah, this is very super valuable. If anybody watch this, they can go start a Dispo team right now.
Yeah,
This is
so
awesome.
So tell us a little bit more about your Zoom coming up. Let the people know again, what it's about, when it's going to be, and how they can reach you to get that link.
Yeah. Just reach out to me on Instagram, the Tony Mont on Instagram, and I'm doing a free Zoom Thursday, 6:30 Eastern. I'm going to go over our entire disposition process. It usually takes an hour and a half. I go from soup to nuts on what we do to get rid of a deal, and then I'll do a Q&A afterwards. So these Zooms, I say they last 2 hours, but I mean, sometimes they'll go 3-4 hours. I did one with David Olds one time. We teamed up on one. I think that one went like 7 hours. The guy we can't stop giving value. But yeah, I just like to do these to help the community, grow my community too. I like to, have collaboration and stuff with a lot of people. So I get to meet a lot of people that follow me on Instagram on these Zooms. I get to, meet them on a Zoom and then see them at an event later. It's just great. I love doing it. It gives me a ton of energy. Like, I'm going to do this Thursday at 6:30, and it's going to go till probably 9:30. I'm not going to be able to sleep that night. Like, I love it. It's like a drug.
Yeah.
Anyway, I go through our entire disposition process, and then I do a Q&A. I'll answer as many questions as I can. That can go 2 hours. But yeah, it's a free webinar. You just got to register for it. The link's always on my story every day. It'll be on there until Thursday. So just follow me on Instagram, the Tony Mont.
Cool, man. Awesome.
Oh,
You
yeah.
guys, if you guys like what you heard tonight, which was a lot, by the way, thank you, Tony, for opening up your playbook and talking about all meat and potatoes, baby. That's what we talked about right before we started. And I really appreciate that. So if you like what you heard tonight, like, make sure you sign up, follow Tony. There's his handle at the Tony Mont. Go give him a follow. Make sure that you hit that link. It looks like you're going to be doing it with Cash Money Mike. Is Cash Money Mike part of that too?
Yeah, no, Cash Money Mike. Me and Cash Money are doing a meetup out in.
That's a meetup. That's right.
Yeah, I think that's February 23rd. I think, Mike.
Okay.
But yeah, it's going to be a blast. We sold that thing out in less than 24 hours. We both posted it like one time and had 100 people sign up for it in less than 24 hours. So we are, super stoked about that. It's standing room only right now. Yeah, that's going to be so much fun. I mean, Mike's a good friend of mine. I see him a lot. He comes out to Raleigh a lot. Love him so much. And, we're going to have a ton of fun. We're going to give a ton of value that night. It's going to be great. Yeah.
Heck yeah, dude. That's February 23rd?
I think so. Yeah. I think
Is that going to be at your new office? Dude, that office is pretty dope, bro.
No. This meetup's going to be in Charlotte at I think it's at a brewery.
Got it.
But yeah, he invited me out there. I said, let's do it. And yeah, it's February 23rd. It's a Thursday night. I think it starts at 6. But yeah, he invited me out to join him, and it's gonna be a blast for sure.
Yeah, dude, that's freaking awesome. Oh yeah, he said February 23rd.
Yep. And we were talking, dude, when we started this thing, you said who gave me the Dispo Daddy handle, and that's your boy Ryan Overcash. I think he's the first one to say it. He was like, how we were gonna do a Zoom a few months ago, and he was like, how should I introduce you? Like Dispo Daddy? And I was like, what? I was like, yeah, well, why not?
Oh man,
then, dude, I said it a few times on Instagram, and it's starting to.
I see it. I love it.
That's why he put the what song did you put, bro? To the
Something
post?
like my daddy.
Something like my daddy.
It was great.
And but later on, it's like he was gonna put which one?
Tony
Montana.
Montana.
With,
Like, oh man, I should have done that one too.
We'll do that one next time. But yeah, it was Ryan who gave me that handle. But I'm gonna run with it. I'll get some merch and shit.
Bro, it's catchy. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I want some extra medium.
Yeah.
That's the other thing too is you got your merch, right? You wanna let people know how.
Yeah, man,
how
it's Tony Mont merch. It says "See" at the top across the back.
Stop
Nice.
flexing. Jeez, he just said show your shirt.
Yeah. But yeah, I got hats and shirts. I did it, just because I want to wear them every day. But also, Make-A-Wish Foundation is a huge part of kind of my family and an organization I donate to a lot.
Wow.
So I just figured, like, hey, if I can get some merch out there, it's good material, it's fun, and whoever buys it, like, literally all the money's going to go to Make-A-Wish. So it's just kind of something I started doing to kind of promote the Make-A-Wish Foundation and try and get some money over to them. That's a place I donate a ton of money to. And
that's cool, man.
So that's why I started it. I'm not that ego driven where I want everybody wearing my merch. It's cool, but yeah, it's more for the kids in Make-A-Wish for sure.
That's awesome, brother. It's amazing when you I always tell people this is that when you do things and then there's a purpose behind it, right? Like it's different. Like it's not just about, like you just said, that ego driven, wanting to drive the profits, right? If you do something and you do it with the purpose behind it, it's just that much better, 10x better. So yeah,
it really is. Yep.
I also want to highlight, man, like think about this, bro. Beginning of the story, felony, couldn't get a job, went out to California. Right, like got a job putting bikes together, bro. That led all of a sudden to you donating to this great foundation. We talked about everything in the middle, but sometimes you got to highlight. I don't think people think about the whole story, how it came about, how one thing led to the next, and you just taking action and having faith in yourself and where it's at, as opposed to like, is this really going to work? I need a guarantee, whatever that may be, dude. Like you just went for it, you did it, and again, can't wait to see what you continue to build, where you're headed next. Again, I've always followed you. That. I look up to you. So appreciate you being the leader that you are, bro, and sharing your story for all the people that can.
Yeah, it's amazing, man.
Grow from.
Thank you very much. Yeah, no, I loved you guys having me on. Obviously, respect and love you guys. And, I'll kind of leave it with this if we're wrapping up, too. It's like, people do ask, would you ever change your past, because it's so crazy, and I sat in jail for a while and I was facing life in prison. And I think back about that, and it's like, isn't that the beautiful thing about the past is we can't change it? It's the past, and I can't change it, so I wouldn't. And if I did change it, would I be sitting here with you guys right now? Probably not. So it's one of those things. It's like, you can dwell on it. You can be depressed about it. You can think about it all the time. You can keep you up at night. But for me, it's like, it's done and over with. I learned a lot from it. And because of that, it changed my life tremendously. And because my life has changed now, and I do make money and I have resources, like I can give that back. I can give education for free. I can give money away to organizations or people that need it. And to me, that is super rewarding. Like, not against anybody that buys fancy cars or anything like that. Like, if that's what you like and you make the money to do it, great. Like, you'll never see me buy a fancy car or, you know, fancy house or anything. Like, I drive a pickup truck, and I got an old shitty Jeep that I tinker on, and a couple old motorcycles I tinker on. Like, you know, I do find, like, if I gave $50,000 away, it would feel better to some if I gave it to somebody in need than if I bought a Rolex. You know what I mean? So that's where I'm at in life, and that's why I do those things. It's kind of selfish because it makes me feel good to do those things, you know, but it does help others. So that's you know, when people ask about changing my past, never. You know, I learned from it, and it definitely made me a better person because of it.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. Thank you for sharing that.
Selfish though, bro. Good selfish.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, awesome, brother. Well, brother, I really appreciate you for coming on, man. It's an honor, and thank you for dropping all those nuggets. You know, that's the one thing, you know, we strive for, and I think the audience got quite a bit tonight. We're gonna have our Dispo guy go back and watch this show.
I already text him. I already have it, and he already responded. He said, "Roger that."
Yeah, no, it's good to have you on and seeing the great things that you're doing. I told Eric this before. You know, it's I love what you guys are doing, and for the short time that you've been doing it, man, it's amazing to see that. And I just wanted to tell you as well in person that same thing I told Eric, man. You guys keep crushing it and keep doing your thing, and I'm rooting for you guys, bro. It's really great to see what you guys are doing, brother. There's no competition over here. We can all eat, we can all thrive, and you know, let's keep crushing it all together in 2023.
100%. Same back to you guys. I really appreciate it, and hopefully see you guys soon.
Cool. All right, everyone. We'll see you guys tonight. Hopefully you enjoy the show, and make sure you rewatch this. We'll talk to you guys later. See you next Tuesday when we have our other guest. Talk to you guys later.